Welcome to the reading of the Sabbath School lesson for the second quarter of 2022. Welcome to lesson number 5 in the series on Genesis. It's titled All Nations and Babel, and it's ready for teaching on April 30, and I'm Percy Harrold. Thursday, April 28, the redemption of the Exile. Read Genesis chapter 11, verses 8 and 9, and Genesis 9, verse 1. Compare these with Genesis 1:28. Why is God's dispersion redemptive? Genesis 11, beginning at verse 8. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. And Genesis 9, verse 1. So God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. And Genesis 1:28. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. God's design and blessing for humans was that they would multiply and fill the earth, as we've just read in Genesis 9:1 and Genesis 1:28. Against God's plan, the builders of Babel preferred to stick together as the same people. One reason they said they wanted to build a city was so that they would not be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth, as we read in Genesis chapter 11, verse 4 yesterday. They refused to move elsewhere, perhaps thinking that together they would be more powerful than they would be separated and scattered. And, in one sense, they were right. Unfortunately, they sought to use their united power for evil, not good. They wanted to make a name for ourselves, a powerful reflection of their own arrogance and pride. Indeed, whenever humans, in open defiance of God, want to make a name for themselves, we can be sure it won't turn out well. It never has. Hence, in a judgment against their outright defiance, God scattered them across the face of all the earth, as we read in Genesis 11, verse 9, exactly what they didn't want to happen. Interestingly enough, the name Babel, which means door of God, is related to the verb balal, B-A-L-A-L, which means confuse, when we read that too in Genesis 11, verse 9. It is because they wanted to reach the door of God, because they thought of themselves as God, that they ended up confused and much less powerful than before. Ellen White writes in Patriarchs and Prophets, page 123, the men of Babel had determined to establish a government that should be independent of God. There were some among them, however, who feared the Lord, but who had been deceived by the pretensions of the ungodly and drawn into their schemes. For the sake of these faithful ones, the Lord delayed his judgments and gave the people time to reveal their true character. As this was developed, the sons of God laboured to turn them from their purpose, but the people were fully united in their heaven-daring undertaking. Had they gone on unchecked, they would have demoralized the world in its infancy. Their confederacy was founded in rebellion, a kingdom established for self-exaltation, but in which God was to have no rule or honour. End of quote. And so to finish today, why must we be very careful about seeking to make a name for ourselves? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind, and It Is Written. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. Remember, God is always faithful.